Welcome back, everyone. I'm the Depressed Dior, and this is Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 9. So it was a little bit of a down note on the last video, and I kind of wanted to figure things out as far as maybe ways to improve the box and try to be as viable as possible. The biggest issue is its mobility, mainly. Since I rely heavily on assassins now, if I'm outranged, either through mobility or just flat out just longer range attacks, I lose the initiative and essentially kind of get wrecked in a lot of cases. So my options are either to bring in more range or give up the strat, and potentially, if I want to stick with tank push, I would need to bring a lot more durability and healing potential, like in the form of Rosenseal and Elma, but my Elma is not built. And more than likely my opponent's going to ban those types of units anyway. So that being said, I went ahead and dropped Sherlinka. Sherlinka has decent mobility if you can get her set up. The problem is getting her set up. Also, a lot of our mechanics require... it's kind of based off the opponent's positions, and if they're familiar with Sherlinka's mechanics, they can definitely position in a way that I can't fully take advantage of it. The other thing is her factions. She's Meteor and Mythic, which really limits my options as far as buffing her. I mean, Strengthen and Mass Attack are nice, but getting bonuses from like an SSR faction buff does actually make a difference at this point. So I went ahead and brought back Angelina. Anyone that's familiar with my past seasons know that for multiple seasons, I heavily relied on Angelina's 3C to essentially close the distance really quick, hit up everything with decent damage, potentially stun some, and then essentially push around their formation in a way that I can essentially make her into a pseudo assassin. In that way, I can push units away from the tank or push the tank away from everyone else, and then kill something I want. It was sort of hit and miss. Sometimes I came up short as far as dealing enough damage. Part of the reason why I had issues with it was because I had Angelina kind of built as a bruiser rather than a full-on just glass cannon attacker, and I kind of hopefully fixed that in this iteration. And part of the reason why I dropped her was back then it was kind of my only trick. I pretty much brought in Angelina and hope I won. That's pretty much what it was, and I won a few times, but other times I would come up short and have no follow-up. Now that I'm familiar with more units, I'm hoping that's not the case. The other reason why I dropped her was both Hilda and Rosenseal came out. Rosenseal, of course, not only can negate the potential stun, but also her crystal healing tends to heal after you do damage. And if they heal back to full, I don't have anything like Twilight Star on her, so I was not going to be able to break things like Last Rites or Shrine Maidens. And that definitely limited her options. And then in the case of Hilda, she literally prevents all push around her, any sort of displacement. And that really kind of shuts her gimmick down. Not entirely, but it shuts it down pretty hard. In any case, so that's the swap I made. I'll go a little bit more about her gear changes maybe in a later part. Anyway, for right now, my opponent, kind of a mixture of a little bit of everything, it looks like. Yeah, we've got some assassins. Not much AoE. I mean, there's potential AoE with, I mean, both Tensei Jessica and Lucretia both can go AoE if they ever need to. Pretty much almost with no penalty. Probably the big standout, of course, is we haven't seen Ledin in a very, very long time. He's a very good tank, but beyond that, he doesn't do very much besides faction buff. He does have his 3C, which can really annoy displacement. In fact, his 3C bypasses the displacement immunity that Hilda provides, which is makes it a bit more dangerous. In any case, I went ahead and banned Hilda first because I run assassins, so it helps me out a lot. They banned Kaira, and they brought in Christiane, which I was completely okay with. So with Christiane in mind, I got rid of both Lucretia and Sherry. I brought in my Hilda. They start going after my long legs. They brought in Kaira, that's fine. So I went ahead and got rid of their faction buffer. I also got rid of Tiaris, did not want to deal with our 3C shenanigans. That would definitely be rather difficult to deal with. Brought in Zerda immediately. This essentially ensures I have both Meteor and Reincarnation faction, so at this point I can buff just about everyone except for essentially just Sissy White. I think Sissy White is the only character I can't buff now, which is pretty good. They start going after my casters. This I was a little confused. I don't know if my opponent was just concerned about AoE. Even though then AoE is not too big of a deal since Christian negates some of it. But if you're going to bring Christian as a tank, you probably don't need to worry too much about magical nuking, especially since he went ahead and went with Rose and Seal afterwards. Since my opponent did take Rose and Seal, I was considering bringing Angelina at this point. Since Rose and Seal was added in, I decided to not do that because obviously the crystal healing will make it a bit more difficult to actually get a kill. Went ahead and banned pretty much Yulia. I did not want to deal with any more self-resing nonsense, and I did not want to give them a teleport. Alright, brought in Tsubame. At this point they banned my Angelina, which was fine because I wasn't going to pick her. They got rid of the chorus. At this point I still have 3 healers, technically. They brought in SP Elwin. At this point, SP Elwin does have his 3C if he wants to use it. Went ahead and got rid of the assassins at this point, leaving my opponent with either taking a second healer with an act again or taking in Let In as a second tank. Go ahead and grab Florentia at this point to ensure I had that available to me. And my opponent left me with Pyrotes and Sissy White, and they took Let In. So I take Pyrotes. So at this point I have 3 assassins. One of them was a faction buffer that requires setup. I have Florentia up for support, and have Hilda for tanking. So right off the bat, we got to experience Elwin's 3C. So the way his 3C works is at the start of the battle, and whenever a friendly unit dies, it applies a faction buff. And they will do 15% increased damage in battle, increasing by 3% for every additional ally that has died, up to an extra 12%. So this can actually do quite a bit. Now the key thing here is additional allies, so be aware of that. Yeah, it's also whenever a friendly unit dies, it triggers. It doesn't trigger whenever my units die, so they can't take advantage of things like Akkas, wolves, or anything like that. Also, we got Force of Will here. Now, one thing to note here is he did bring his 3C. Oh, actually, the 3C itself. So I guess the weird thing about it is it's a faction buff that only triggers as a passive. So it triggers at the start, and then anytime an ally dies. And then its activatable effect is essentially Sword Soul, sort of. It dispels 5 buffs, does similar damage, but instead of heal negation, it silences enemies' passive skills. So pretty good there. And it also makes it so they can't receive heals, and it can't be dispelled. So instead of having Sword Soul, he had Eternal Glow. Besides that, Force of Will. When a unit dies, restore HP and gain Force of Will, which makes it so he heals before combat. And yeah, that's about it. In any case, he's going Unicorns. Rose and Seal's full heals. Let In brought his faction buff, which is a little redundant. He did also bring his 3C. So he's got that up and running. Kyera has no one to actually buff her, but she is going with standard assassin build with sorceresses. Christian did bring phalanxes, and besides that, it's pretty standard. Her Christian is only 5 stars. I don't know about everyone else. I think everyone else is fine. Yeah, I think everyone else is 6 stars. Anyway, standard Tsubame, you've seen it before. Pyrotes, my standard Pyrotes with Forest Night Elves. Zerda, of course, standard Zerda with faction buff, Hellfire Archers, and Backstab. Hilda, standard, and standard Florentia with heal, and Forest Priest. Alright, so key thing here was, of course, Let In's ability to just yank a unit out of position. Kyera, of course, I have to assume that she has the range staff, which if that's the case, she can attack all the way up to here, which means even if Pyrotes were to take a step forward right now, one single step, it would put her in range. Now, I don't know if this Kyera actually has the staff or not. And then Ledin, of course, or not Ledin, Elwyn is the other issue, of course, since he has full mobility here, and he does have matching soldiers, so he can go 1, 2, 3, 4. So he can attack all the way up to here. So similar situation as Kyura. And yeah, so key thing, my assassins need to kill their key units before Ledin messes up my formation too much. All right, so. Right off the bat, didn't actually open faction buff, instead opened with Floral Realm, probably just to get the self-res active. Yeah, and reduces AoE damage. I don't have any AoE in my group, so it doesn't really matter. Oh, speaking of AoE, they don't have any AoE except for the passive AoE that Floral Realm can provide if you pick the other option. So Tsubame can actually just kind of stealth freely in this match. So went ahead and took a step forward, and like I said, I'm being very cautious about the Kyura. I need to wait to see what she does. Mass Crystal Healing is an opener. Get my stealth up. I played it pretty safe here. Went ahead and moved back. Zerda doesn't really need to be in the fray right now. Get the faction buff up. So I went ahead and passed turn with PR test in place. Just to kind of put in perspective, PR test can go all the way to here, and then essentially do quick step to here, and then shoot to there. If I had moved her a little bit closer and then done an act again, I could have potentially gone after other targets. But in this case, it was just safer to do it this way because I did not want to risk Kyura hitting me before I can act again. So my opponent saved me the trouble. So I was already in range of Ledin. So with this, I can easily just go to here and then shoot from range. So with that in mind, the benefits of having act again is player 2. I don't give up any initiative because I didn't have it to begin with. Quick step. I attack from 3 range. I did apply a debuff, but it got absorbed by the crystal. And something's very, very satisfying being able to kill Kyura. Well, I guess Kyura is not much of a meta tank anymore, or not a meta tank, but meta assassin anymore. But being able to kill a higher tier assassin with Pyrotes is actually very satisfying. In any case, I do have Slice Stride, so I can move back 3 steps. So I do. This does put me in range of Ledin, though, as he's about to show me. Now, something I didn't realize about Pyrotes' 3C, I know about the self-damage it does, but I thought it was only when I engage the attack, but it actually applies when she gets attacked. And I have Last Rites on her, which makes Last Rites completely worthless on her. So I went ahead and I eventually replaced it with Monkey King Vest again, because obviously her 3C cancels it. Even without the Last Rites, though, I still tanked the hit. I was actually pretty surprised. I think it's probably because Redeemers are not particularly strong as attackers. Yeah, Redeemers don't have a lot of attack at all, and Pyrotes had pretty decent defense at the time. Yeah, and I didn't get first strike or anything because I wasn't in Forest. So Pyrotes is alive. I did trigger Breeze earlier, so despite the losing 3 mobility, I'm still able to actually move away with Pyrotes. I went ahead and pushed Hilda forward just to ensure I can guard. Elwyn can reach Tsubame, but Tsubame is stealth, so she can't be attacked directly. And I went ahead and moved as close as I could, and got my 3C active. So I was able to take out one of their primary attackers and didn't actually lose any of mine, so I'm actually in a really good position here. The Elwyn actually fell back at this point. I could have moved in to attack Elwyn, I think. I think I was just within range with Tsubame, but it was away from everyone, so I wasn't going to get the Silent Wing. And also in the past, I've just had a lot of trouble killing Elwyn with Tsubame. I don't know why, but it seems to be the case more often than not. So I wasn't really comfortable attempting it. That being said, usually I'd never have the Meteor Faction buff, which the Meteor Faction buff increases my damage by, or increases my attack by 10%, which also helps out quite a bit. But I went ahead and just stuck with a target that I knew I could kill, which was Kyura. So we heal up here. So at this point, Ledin moves up. He does have his 3C still active, so this actually disables my guard. Which is a little annoying, but it's not the end of the world. So at this point I had to kind of decide what to do. There's a way for me to get Hilda to move out of that space, but it will require some shuffling on my part. One thing I could have attempted to do is I could have attempted to use Zerida here to potentially take out Ledin. He is holy. I couldn't remember what accessory I had on Zerida, and I wasn't entirely confident that I was able to get the kill. In hindsight, I think I should have done that and just see what happens, but I didn't attempt it. Also, I guess I was concerned about just Rosenseal just passing our turn and healing Ledin up, but honestly, I should have attempted to actually kill. Yeah, I would not have gotten backstab from it. I would have done 1 point times damage. My attack would have gone up. My attack essentially would have gone up another 10% because of attacking Holy. And I negate 20% of Ledin's defense. Ledin actually has really ridiculously high defense, which is why I was very, very cautious about this. He also reduces damage, and then of course Redeemers also reduce damage, so I wasn't confident that I was actually going to be able to get kill. I could try to do the math for it, but it doesn't really matter. I didn't go for it. So attacking with tanks here, because literally my opponent's got nothing to attack with. Full hit point, full RT, I can easily tank a hit. I do strategic regroup. I think in hindsight, I think she should have just stayed in place to block Christiane, but I didn't consider that. Yeah, this was a mistake. Yeah, so I should have just kept Flortina down here, and Tsubame moving down here. Since I was adjacent to an enemy, it actually I broke my own stealth, which was just dumb. Now it's like, oh look, opening. So I was able to fall back. So at this point, I don't have much to do with Pyrotes, so I was like, well, let's see how tanky he is. The Redeemers themselves are not super tanky, so I couldn't really get a good measure there. Yeah, Redeemers don't have... Yeah, they have like half the defensive let in, so it wasn't too much. In any case, it was just... I did this mainly just to block, to kind of limit Elwyn's options of running around me. I do have to be careful, of course, because of the Poison Fog coming in. At this point, Ledin's 3C has worn off, so I can guard now, so at this point I'm kind of safe. So, went ahead and just did a regular attack. Yeah, so I think I would have gotten kill. Yeah, with the amount of damage I did, I think I would have done it. I don't remember if he had the Crystal Barrier up. If he did, he might have survived just simply because that would have procced before the Hellfire Archers. But yeah, with 1 point times damage, I probably would have been able to pull it off. Also, my damage dealt would have been 30% higher. So I think, yeah, I think I could have gotten a kill on Ledin. Now, he would have self-res because of Redeemers, but then I would have been able to follow up with possibly Pyrotes, and then Zerida again, and that would have easily killed them. It was a little hard to kind of work around, because obviously they guard each other. So if I attack Ledin directly, Christiane's going to block, and Christiane can attack from... she can counter 2 range. So I have to attack Christiane to force Ledin to block and make that happen that way. So at this point, Ellen pushes forward. Ellen's within range of an ally, which means he does not actually have a self-res. And I have Quick Step on Tsubame, so I can actually reach him. So going here would put me in range of Elwyn and Ledin, so I would not get the full benefit of Silent Wing. I would have gotten 2 stacks of it, which would have been plus 16% attack and skill. So, but it was kind of my only opening at this point since I gave up my stealth like a fool. So, gonna do quick step, instant flash, daybreak. Also, I wasn't sure if Elwyn had immunity to fixed damage. Actually, in this case, he didn't. I did check that. But yeah, pretty decent stuff. So we're gonna. I just want to see that final round again. I apologize. My cat was distracting me. So yeah, Elwyn didn't have. If there's a green number for skill, that usually means he has some sort of pendant or badge or equipped, which potentially could be one that negates fixed damage. So we're just going to do that next round. Okay, so I needed to do, what was it, about 24,000. How much damage did I do? Yeah, I don't know if I had a few extra hits behind it, so it was still pretty close. Alright, well, I'll see you guys in a bit. Alright, and yeah, you guys get another one this video. So this is still on Sunday. This was in the midday time slot, so around noon, I guess, in the U.S. time. So things to point out: my opponent has an Elma, so we get to see that in action. We got Rian here. We of course got Wetham, got Ares. A lot of things I don't like dealing with, to be honest. It seems to be the primary focus for this is. It seems to be mixed, which is always my preference, since I can now control what my opponent's going to throw my way. So no changes to the box, because this is the same day. They went ahead and banned my Helena as an opener, so I was like, okay. Went ahead and went with Elwyn for their opener. Since they didn't ban Hilda, I banned their Hilda, and got rid of their Sherry. So at this point, if they want any sort of tank, they'll either need to take Christian or have to bring Bernhard as a physical tank. I bring in my Hilda. They ban one of my healers in Zerda. This actually hurt me a little bit because obviously losing Zerda means my faction buffing is kind of been depleted a bit. They take Christian as a tank, which is completely fine by me. Went ahead and start getting rid of some of the Princess faction, particularly ones that can self-res. Went ahead and brought in Marielle to ensure I had at least a healer potential buffer as well. They start going after more of my healers and got rid of Lucretia. They take Rian. So I went ahead and banned their Empire faction. I don't remember what Rian's factions were, but I think it's Empire. So I know he's also Time, but I don't know what his third faction is. But I also didn't want to deal with teleport shenanigans, also did not want to deal with extra mobility or Bernhardt's AoE nonsense, so just got rid of all of them. At this point, I'm kind of leaving my opponent with a number of healers and Ares. I take Tsubame, since she's an assassin that can buff with reincarnation. They start banning some more of my long legs and pretty much got rid of my last potential healer. They take Ares, so we got to deal with that. Went ahead and banned. So my focus was to ban the Act again and also get rid of Rose and Seal's potential crystal nonsense. I was a little concerned about Elma's mechanics, but I'd rather get rid of Rose and Seal over everything else. And even though Lycoris can be really annoying with her AoEs, I have enough long legs to actually kind of make it work. So I take Angelina at this point. She can only get buffed by Marielle. They banned my other tank and got rid of Tensei Jessica, which I was fine with. They take Elma as their healer, and I actually bring in Sherry. This is one of the few times where I actually got to use SP Sherry. She's usually one of the first people that get banned in my box, so I actually don't have a lot of practice with her. So this was actually a kind of a good opportunity. So Christiane only 5 stars, it looks like, standard Christiane. Elma, I don't know. Give me a moment. Alright, I went and looked it up. That Elma is 3 stars. I guess that 9 less than 1,000 intelligence also is a sign of that. So yeah, that Elma is only 3 stars. Not a huge deal, but yeah, 3 stars. I don't know about this Rian. I think I'll just assume he's 6 stars. He did bring Arc Slash, which is annoying because it's pretty long range. Beyond that, Stealing Warriors is also kind of dangerous because they can get defense buffed when range attack, which is what I'm going to be doing. This Elwyn does have a green number for skill, so I'm assuming that they have immunity to fixed damage through a badge or whatever, or accessory. And this Ares actually went Noble Charge, so this Ares is not doing the mass AoE nonsense, it looks like. Move after dealing damage, yeah. So went single target with this one. Alright, so with that in mind, also I don't know why he went Angels. In any case, standard Hilda, I brought Phalanxes because physical damage. Sherry, I actually went ahead and brought in Shadow Raid for potentially maybe going after Elma or something like that. Or just really to make it a little bit easier to trigger her act again. It does bypass guard, but it won't include the Angels in the attack. Marielle here, I went ahead and went Enduring Faith with God King, Aegis, and Mass Attack. Now, one thing I didn't realize about her exclusive weapon is the cooldown reduction it does. It does have a cooldown of about like 3 turns, which makes it a little bit harder to use. That being said, I did consider bringing her single target heal, but really, if I need to do a lot of healing, I'm probably screwed anyway because I'm probably being hit by both Rian and Ares. So primary focus is just to have mass attack and a way to cycle through the cooldown faster. Angelina here. So I guess I'll talk a little bit about the changes I did with Angelina. For one thing is I'm now using Griffin Knights more often rather than Angels. Angels, of course, make her pretty bulky, especially against magic, but Griffin Knights provide, they have higher base attack, and they provide a higher attack buff whenever they're attacking at 80% or above. One thing I that I didn't really have a lot of practice with Angelina, especially in PvP, was Alternate. Usually I brought Ram, which was only 1.1 times damage. So I brought in Alternate just in case I need more mobility or just need to pull another unit closer type situation. But really the key thing, of course, is Tidal Surge with Breath of the Tides. As long as I hit 3 units with Breath of the Tides, she will be able to get an additional action. Alright, Tsubame Standard. Okay, so with all that said... Oh, I guess one other thing to note about Angelina is she used to be using, I think they were Greaves? I don't remember what the actual name of the accessory was, but essentially it gave plus attack, and whenever she was attacked, she'll get like plus 10% defense, which kind of leads to her being like more of a bruiser type. What I have with her now is actually the Lone Star armlet, which will give plus 10% attack and, well, I think it gives a base attack increase, and it also gives an even higher attack increase if you happen to be away from all your allies. It'll give another 10% attack and defense, I think. So that'll hopefully make her attack a lot higher. I also did some things with her enchants to make her have even more attack. Like her armor originally had no attack actual increase on it, so I fixed that issue, and so hopefully I can do a lot more damage now. Anyway, let's go ahead and dive right into this. So my opponent's going to buff in place. Oh, let's talk a little bit about Elma while we're here. So Elma did bring Light Mirror, which is a single target. Yeah, so this is a single target spell that will make a target immune to all debuffs and instead will reflect them back, which kind of makes it a little dangerous for Angelina for a few reasons. Also, whenever taking damage, they'll when they take damage from an attack, they will restore HP, and then they'll deal fixed damage back to the attacker. And then her 3C kind of applies a attack damage and damage reduction buff to everybody. Makes it so, let's see, restores health, They all get. She will get Light Mirror, and she makes it so everyone within 3 block range becomes immune to heal block. It also does I think it does healing. Yeah, it does healing on top of it. And then she has Light Recall, which makes it so she can teleport a friendly unit within range. Oh, sorry, it teleports one friendly unit with the lowest HP within a 2 block range. Wait, after taking action, heals it. It heals a friendly unit with the lowest HP. Oh, sorry, that's the passive. So this makes it so she heals and dispels, kind of similar to Liana. Her assist effect is she teleports a friendly unit back to her side, and then heals them. Okay, and that's pretty much it. Her talent's a bunch of stuff that increases healing and makes it so she can summon a little candle thing. So go ahead and spread out a little bit. I'm definitely very concerned about Rian because he's the AoE. He went ahead and opened with this transformation. I think this Rian only has 3 movement. Doesn't have boots. Oh, he does have boots. So he had 4 movement, now he has 5 movement. Faction buffed. Did Light Mirror on Christiane. I'm guessing just to ensure that she doesn't accidentally get stunned. I don't know the entire purpose. And then at the end of her first turn, she has the potential to summon her Relic. So this thing, if it takes damage, it will heal everybody, kind of similar to Juggler. But it's based off intelligence rather than Juggler's HP. Has the ability to teleport next to the caster to kind of reposition. We already went over that thing. It's immune to all debuffs, can attack or be displaced, all that good stuff. And then the Holy Healing essentially gives it an extra AoE heal. This heal does dispel 1 debuff. So we got that going for us. So went ahead and moved forward. Like I said, my biggest concern is Ares. Like, even though Ares can't do his normal AoE, he does have his passive AoE they can do with Fearless Hurricane. And if he ends up yanking someone like Tsubame, that can be a problem. I guess one other thing to note is Ares didn't bring a faction buff, so neither did. So yeah, they are not getting any sort of attack buff, which is probably a good thing. In fact, the only people that are buffed right now are Elwyn and Elma, and then of course Christiane. So yeah, 2 of their primary attackers can't get an attack buff. And moved in with Sherry, and then get up the first batch of mass attack. Pious Grace helped reduce that cooldown. She gets her self-res up. So at this point, I'm going in. So key things here is I could hit I can go to here, hit everybody. It's a 3x3 AoE here that goes forward. Problem is if I do this, it'll push everybody, including the tank, so that everyone would stay in tank range. I could go here, in which case I hit everyone except for Elwyn. Elwyn will prevent these 2 from being pushed back. This can't be pushed, and then these 2 get pushed back. But if I do that, I am hitting the light flame, and then the light flame is going to heal everybody as a result. Also, all these are potentially hitting Christiane, and if I get the stun to proc, it's going to reflect back at me. So, and if it reflects back at me, I'm screwed. So the way the stun works is there's a 20% chance if she's in water that she'll freeze any of the enemies that she hits with this attack. Since I'm already in water, but I also did Tidal Surge, which puts me in water. So either way, there's a chance I can potentially stun Christiane, which will be reflected back. So what I decided to do was actually move up to there so I don't hit the candle. This pushes all of them back. She did have Floral Realm, which negated some of the AoE damage, and then of course the Light Mirror reflected some damage back at Angelina. She's still just barely above 80%, so Griffin Knights will still provide their bonus. And then of course she got a little self-healing from the mirror as well. Now as for stuns, I actually stunned Rian, so that was actually kind of helpful. And at this point I spent many pretty much a majority of my time trying to figure out if I can get a kill on Ares. Ares doesn't have any buffs. His defense is not particularly high. I have really high attack. I still have my attack buff, and I would get plus 10% attack on top of everything because I'm Lone Star got the Lone Star Armlet active. So can I win with a raw attack? I would need to do 19,500 damage with all these units. Now, one thing to know is Griffin Knights have really high attack, so this might work out. So I do some fixed damage. Yeah, so with the fixed bit damage I did, it was enough, just barely. Because I did a little over 18,000 there. Alright, so with that, that did proc Elwyn's 3C, which of course gave him a little bit more damage, but getting rid of Ares got rid of one of the long legs and their potential AoEs, so I was completely happy with this trade. So Elwyn's going to do Light Recall, and then heal with the passive, and use Star Bloom to get rid of the stun, and then of course heal everybody back up. So at this point, since Rian's kind of a little out of it right now, so yeah, Elwyn did not need to use his 3C here. In fact, if he had saved it, it probably would have helped out a lot. Also attacking a place, I think Elwyn has first strike if he moves enough spaces. Yeah, if he had moved 4 blocks, yeah, he could have just looped around to here and then just killed that way. I mean, it's possible that he was concerned about possibly Tsubame and Sherry being a problem. In any case, I got hit with Arc Slash here, which applied multiple debuffs. Yeah, I applied 3 debuffs to Marielle here and 1 debuff to Hilda. I did have immunity to silence and immunity to attack and int down, so that kind of helped me a bit. But now that's 1 less AoE. I still have to worry about his 3C though. So went ahead and just healed at this point. Alright, Candlelit Sanctuary. So at this point, Elma's used up her entire kit. And then repositions the torch here. So at this point, since I don't really need to guard, since Elwyn's so far back, I went ahead and just pushed forward with Hilda there. And at this point, I had an opening to go ahead and kill Elma. I decided that it was best to go ahead and do that. Now I had the option, I think I had a few options. I believe I could have attacked from here and then fell back to be within Hilda's range, but then Rian would just wreck me with his 3C. So I decided to just fall back down here. At the very least, it reapplied my stealth. Alright, so did an act again on herself just so she could cycle through cooldowns faster. And then I moved forward. I actually made a mistake here. I miscounted the steps. Elwyn's actually within range of Cherry here, so I should have stayed back one more step. That being said, like I mentioned before, Elwyn burned through Eternal Glow, so he doesn't actually have a follow-up attack. So, Rain of Glory. Moves down. He does get first strike, I believe. No, he doesn't. He only moved 3 steps. So at this point I was like, alright, well, you didn't get a kill. I was at full hit points. No, he didn't have Twilight Star, so I reduced damage quite a bit. Got my first kill, just barely. Healed to full. And I get to act again, because he's the only unit within range. And then I think at this point my opponent gave up. Went ahead and attacked melee with Rian. Did okay damage, he is the infantry. But this puts him in range of murder. So move in. I do have Extreme Magic Bow on Tsubame, so I can attack at melee. And I had first strike, and that finished things. So there you go. got to show off Angelina, got to show off SB Sherry for once. Got to show off Pyrotis of all things. So yeah, overall not too bad. Honestly, I think my opponent just was kind of just, well, so prior to really early in the match, like even before I did the Angelina thing, my opponent did send the little emote that said, I'm so dead, or whatever it was. I don't know if he was referring to myself or him, but I think in this case it was referring to herself. So it is what it is. Anyway, the reason why I did this final match was I was kind of on a roll, and I was the amount of points I got in the previous match put me within range of actually getting gold 3. So with that, I am gold 3. So there you go. Gold 3, I'll hope get some nicer enchants. And I don't expect to get, yeah, I'm not going to get much higher than what I am right now. But now I don't have to worry about it. So I'm now going to get better enchants, more enchants, and better arena enchants. And so hopefully we'll be able to put all that to use. In any case, I am The Depressed Dealer. This is Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 9. I'll see you guys later.